Alright guys, so today I want to talk about forgotten Fortnite collaborations. Now when I say forgotten, I don't mean obscure like the Season 6 Wreck-It Ralph collab. I mean collaborations people didn't even know existed. Now I think forgotten Fortnite collabs go all the way back to Season 9. Because in Season 9 there was a collaboration with Jordan. And there are many collabs between Jordan and Fortnite now, but this was the first one. Now this collab came with 2 skins, 2 emotes, and an LTM. Now you'd think because the collab is Nike Jordan, it would be like a basketball related LTM. But nah, instead it was running around a giant city and grabbing coins like it's Mario. Now there were actually challenges from this LTM that you could do. And the rewards would give you a back bling called Backboard that has a bunch of edit styles, but the other rewards were just a bunch of sprays. So yeah, that's pretty much everything from the first Jordan collab. This collab dropped when Fortnite was starting to really like open up to collabs. For the time this collab released, it was pretty good, but we have so many better collabs now. So that's probably why nobody talks about it. But now let's move on to Chapter 2 Season 1 for another forgotten collab. The Star Wars Rise of Skywalker live event. Now this was the first collab for Chapter 2 and the first live event for Chapter 2. And the reason nobody remembers it is because it sucks. And that ain't even really subjective either. This event just straight up sucks, man. All they really did was have some Star Wars ships fly around and shoot each other at the beginning. Then they had the director for the movie, J.J. Abrams, come out and say some stuff. Then they showed some clips from the movie, which I'ma be real, I don't think anyone even really cared about. And then at the very end, for some reason, and this is the most controversial thing, they decide to play Palpatine's speech, which should have been in the movie. Because in the context of the movie, right, Palpatine comes back, and for some reason, they don't explain why or how he comes back. It's so weird that the characters from the movie don't even know how he comes back either.
So instead of them putting the only somewhat explanation of how Palpatine returns in the movie,
they instead decide to put it in a Fortnite live event. And it's so controversial because that's such a key part of the movie, and you're putting it behind a Fortnite live event. Like, that makes absolutely no sense. On top of that, this event came with a free glider for everyone who attended, but not everyone could get into the event because of server issues, so they just decided to give it to everyone who was playing at the time for free. But apart from the live event, this collab also gave us some skins, gliders, pickaxes, and emotes from the movie. And it also gave us some lightsabers that you could use for a while. But yeah, this collab probably would have been remembered more if it was just better. And also if it didn't feature a key part from the movie that should have been in the actual movie. But now let's move a little bit forward to Chapter 2 Season 2, because this season features multiple forgotten collabs, starting with this one right here. Now this is the Punk'd Risky Reels live event. Now basically what this was is that it was a live event where people could watch an episode of Punk'd at Risky Reels. And the episode that they chose for this live event was an episode where Chance the Rapper was pranking Megan Thee Stallion. Basically what happens in the episode is that Chance takes Megan's dog, and then he got someone from his team to dress up as a gorilla in a cage, but then the gorilla steps out of the cage and beats up somebody. But yeah, this collab was nothing too crazy. It was just to promote Punk'd, and that was really it. Anyways, do y'all remember that app called House Party? If you don't remember it or you just don't know it at all, it's basically just Instagram video calls, but with like a few extra steps. Or at least it was, because now it's shut down. But anyways, this app had a collab with Fortnite. Basically, if you had your Epic Games account linked to House Party, you would get a free rap. The rap itself is called Triangles, and it's also animated. And actually, this isn't even the only time they've collabed with Fortnite. 2 seasons later, they would have another collab, and this one featured the Rainbow Fog rap. But let me actually let you all in on something, okay? Epic actually owned the rights to House Party, so when you actually think about it, they were just collabing with themselves. So I don't really know if that makes these count as collaborations, but I'll let y'all figure that out. Anyways, going back to Chapter 2 Season 2, Fortnite decided to introduce this thing called Party Royale. Basically, it was a thing where players could chill and hang out with other people. However, some people kind of used it just to like flex skins and stuff, and some other people would just do some very weird stuff in there. Also, some people didn't even use this mode to hang out, they would just do it in real games. So I'm gonna be real, this whole thing was just kind of useless. However, the mode did have a lot of collaborations. Now, there were so many of these, so I'm not gonna go into full detail for all of them because that would just make this video extra long. So I'm gonna just say what they were about for the most part and get it over with. However, there are 2 collabs from this mode that I wanna take a real look into, so let's go. Now, one of the first Party Royale collabs was between Steve Aoki, deadmau5, and Dylan Francis. This collab was just a concert where they would take turns playing their own music. Also, it would take 5 years after this collab for deadmau5 to get his own skin. But while this was advertised as the premier Party Royale event, it wasn't actually the very first one. The very first Party Royale collab was actually this one featuring Diplo, one of the core members of Major Lazer. All that really happened in this event though was that he played music, and that was it. The Party Royale event after these two was the Tenet trailer premiere event. This event featured the main actor for the movie, John David Washington, and Jeff Keighley for some reason. If you don't know who that is, he's the Game Awards guy. Anyways, in this event, they both talked about key details for the movie, and they had the trailer premiere in Fortnite before anywhere else. And to get people even more excited for Tenet, Fortnite's next Party Royale event would be them airing 3 Christopher Nolan movies. And the movies they showed were Batman Begins, Inception, and The Prestige. The next Party Royale event would be the We the People event. This event was mainly done in support of the BLM movement, and it had multiple black voices come up to talk about voting rights among people of color. What most people remember from this event though is the free Verve emote. You didn't even have to attend the event to get this either. You could have just logged in at the time and got it. And I'm gonna get a little off topic from Party Royale here, but this would not be the last time that Fortnite made an event that focused on prominent black figures. Because around Chapter 2, Season 7, Fortnite decided to have an event focused around Martin Luther King. And it sounds nice, right? However, a lot of people did not end up taking this event very seriously. I'm not gonna go into specific details, but you can probably imagine how bad it was. Anyways, after this, Fortnite would go on to have another concert featuring Diplo, a concert featuring Kenshi Yonezu, and then collabs between ESPN8 and Sharkweed. After this though, Fortnite would go on to have multiple events featuring different artists called the Spotlight Series. And in between those events, the band BTS had their own events separate from the Spotlight Series. The event also featured 2 emotes which were based off the song Dynamite. But after all of this, Party Royale events kind of got silent up until Fortnitemares. Because when Fortnitemares hit, so did the J Balvin Afterlife Party. Now this event happened during Halloween, and it came with an unlockable style for the Party Trooper skin. During this event, J Balvin would sing multiple of his songs with a Halloween aesthetic, including Agua, which is a song featured in the 3rd SpongeBob movie. And I'm only bringing this up because SpongeBob didn't even get into the game as a cosmetic until like 6 chapters later. And J Balvin didn't even get his actual skin until Chapter 2, Season 7, almost a year after this event took place. Anyways, fast forwarding 2 seasons later to one of the most doo-doo garbage periods to ever hit the game, Party Royale events kind of went silent up until this point. Because near the beginning of this terrible and awful season, Fortnite decided to do a concert with Cascade. And if you're wondering, no, it was not anything special. He just played music. So Party Royale events would go on to go silent again up until Chapter 2, Season 7, because this is where Short Nite 2 steps in. Now, this event featured a bunch of different animations made by a bunch of different animators. Some of the animators featured in this event were Speedo, Simon's Cat, and Gilded Guy, who was basically the cover athlete for all of this. This event was primarily about him because it also came with his skin, and at the time it was the premiere of his animation, Gilded Guy Gets Up. Also for this event, some of the animators had to change some of their animations. For example, Speedo had to change the Pixel Galaxy video because it featured Kirby, which wouldn't be the first time that Kirby was censored from Party Royale, by the way. And Gilded Guy had to remove Bog from Gilded Guy Story 6 because apparently he was too graphic. But anyways, that's it for all of the forgotten Party Royale collabs. But now, there's a Fortnite collaboration that I want to talk about that is so forgotten that I don't think a single speck on the planet has ever mentioned it. This collab also dropped during the doo-doo garbage season that was Chapter 2, Season 6, so that's probably a huge factor as to why nobody remembers it. But anyways, this collab is known as the Mistborn collab. Now this collab came with the Kelsier skin, which also featured a dual-wield pickaxe and a loading screen. And 2 reasons I could think of as to why nobody remembers this collab is because 1, it dropped during one of the worst seasons of Fortnite ever, and 2, this skin hasn't even been in the item shop since like November of 2021. So it's no surprise as to why people don't remember what this is. But anyways, a lot of people know that Fortnite has collabed with football players like Messi, Neymar, Harry Kane. But what you probably don't know is that they also collab with Pele. But he didn't get a skin like Messi or Neymar. He only got an emote, and it was based off of his Air Punch celebration. It also hasn't been in the item shop since like late 2021. So you could probably see why people forgot about this. Also, Pele himself passed in late 2022. God rest his soul, but because of that, I don't think this emote is ever coming back. And while we're on the topic of athletes, there's also a skin for the tennis player Naomi Osaka that people don't remember. But I'm not gonna go into full detail on it because, to be honest, I don't want to. But anyways, that's everything that I wanted to talk about for this video. Please like and subscribe because working on this video has just been destroying my phone.